Coming up on today's show, we have a major Tyrone Tracy injury update to get into, and then we're going to recap the Giants' Week 3 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. Before we do that, though, I just want to say thank you to every single person that has subscribed to New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. We crossed over 85,000 subscribers yesterday. We appreciate y'all. We are the fastest growing and the largest Giants-only YouTube channel that exists. So if you love the Giants, free videos every day, hit that sub button right now. This is New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by. Tyrone Tracy, the second-year running back for the Giants. He had to leave Sunday night's game against the Chiefs with an injury. Immediately upon being tackled, he pointed to his shoulder. It seemed very serious, and we are getting word at this point that it is, as he has suffered a separated shoulder, and he is expected to miss time for the New York Giants. A disappointing development for Tracy, a guy that was looked at as someone that could be an X factor for the Giants offense this year. He's going to miss some time. I thought the Giants wanted to come out and run the football yesterday. We saw Tracy have 7 carries for 29 yards. I think he had 6 carries or 6 total touches, including a couple of grabs in the receiving game early on. Giants were lining up in that pistol set, trying to run those wide zones, and it was working a little bit. Saw some spunk, saw some juice out of Tyrone Tracy. Physical runner, wanted to run downhill. Kind of this Cam Scadaboo effect on this offense. But now the Giants are going to be out and not going to have him for a couple of weeks at this point, it sounds like. So what's going to happen now? What are the changes the New York Giants are going to make? Is Cam Scadaboo just going to be the best or be the running back one going forward? I think so. I think that's what we're going to get at this point. Maybe you see a little bit of Devin Singletary sprinkled in. You also still have Dante Turbo Miller on the practice squad. I assume he will be a guy that is going to get some game day elevations for this football team. But I would just give the work to Cam Scadaboo. He brings some life. He brings some fight. And he brings a physicality to this football team. Coming out of last night's game, the only real positive was Cam Scadaboo's the real deal. 10 carries, 60 rushing yards, 6 yards a pop, a rushing touchdown. Kind of seems like he could be the solution to some of your red zone problems that you have. And he's also showed that he can contribute in the receiving game as well. Showed some soft hands. Did have that crucial drop on 4th down in week 2. But he has showed that he could be kind of a workhorse. And he could be someone that you can rely upon. And I would just continue to stack up the workload. Sucks that the Giants are kind of running him into the ground in a useless situation. But with the Giants potentially making a quarterback change, I'm excited to see a backfield of Jaxson Dart and Cam Scadaboo. Hopefully, though, Tyrone Tracy gets healthy sooner rather than later. The Giants need all the good football players they can get on the offensive side of the ball. And I do think there is some juice there with Tracy. Hopefully he gets back healthy. If you want to see it, hit that thumbs up icon. Coming up next, we'll talk about the Chiefs versus the Giants. But this polo was $55. Now it's $40. Chatsports.com/NYG Polo. Chatsports.com/NYG Polo. All righty. Want to bring on producer Andrew Connell onto today's show. What's going on, my man?
What's going on, Marshall? I think we all wish we could experience one victory Monday and not what we've had to deal with over and over again this season, but that's what we're here. We're here to talk about it. We're here to talk about it as a community and here to get everyone's takeaways.
3 quick takeaways for me. Andrew will give his 3 as well. The piss-poor preparation came back to burn the Giants again. They are not setting themselves up for failure. They are setting themselves up for failure. They're not setting themselves up for success. You're burnt by Graham Gano. Again, hurt in pregame warmups. I think it leaves a lot of points on the board in the first half. You have to go for it from your own 28. You have a PAT blocked. And it's not like this is the first time that this has happened with Graham Gano. It's actually the fourth time. It's actually the fourth time that this has happened. And I did video after video after video this offseason saying the Giants should cut Graham Gano. Save the $5 million. He's not good enough. He only makes about 70% of his kicks. He misses games. So if you're not dependable to play, you're not good enough to make kicks, why are you still on this team? And the Giants had to suffer a loss again because of it.
I think, like you said, I think there was at least 4 points early on that first half left on the board. They went for it on 4th and 3 within field goal range, which, aggressiveness, more teams are going for it on 4th down, but that's normally a spot you kick in the first quarter. And then the extra point as well that Jamie Gillen missed, just points on the board. And it obviously didn't come down to a one-score game here, but if you want to win games, you can't be leaving points on the board like that.
No, against a team like the Chiefs, who's fighting for their life, you left points on the board, and you had to be more aggressive from a Russell Wilson perspective, trying to throw the ball in the end zone into triple coverage, cost you 2 interceptions in plus territory, and you didn't lose the game because of Graham Gano, but he was a major reason why.
Giants aren't a team that's built to play from behind. We want to see them get out to leads, be able to use that running game that we saw them really try to establish in the beginning of the game. Let those pass rushers unleash on teams that are just looking to get back in the game, passing the ball. And when you fall behind early, which is just another byproduct of the Gano situation, you're just not setting yourself up for success.
No.
So on to my first takeaway from the game was there was no complimentary football from the Giants in that game or in any game this season. To be honestly, I don't know what they need to do to get better at that, but it's something that really needs to improve for the Giants.
Seems like whenever the offense is playing well, defense is not. When the defense is playing well, the offense is not. When the team needs to stop, they don't get it. When the Giants need to score, they don't get it. And you see that through the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think they can't both have a good game. You would say week 1, the Giants defense didn't play its best, but they played good enough to win. 21 points should be good enough to win in the NFL, given up as a defense. Then the offense really showed out in week 2, and you see the defense there giving up 40 points to Dallas. And then last night, 22 points again, not the Giants' best. I think they are capable of more. They're capable of playing better. But again, that should be enough to win in the NFL. 22 points should have you in the game, not the game over by the third quarter.
Unreal. And that kind of brings me to this. Like, the Giants' offense with Russell Wilson, Brian Daboll, and Mike Kafka, it's so easy to stop. Like, when have the Giants looked up and be like, oh, that guy's wide open. Oh, we out-schemed you here. And I'm not talking about a pass in the red zone to Marcus Bowe, a backup offensive tackle. Like, you were able to do it against the Dallas Cowboys. But I think we've learned at this point, Andrew Kyle, the Dallas Cowboys are not a good football team. They're a horrible defense. They just got lit up by Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears. And when the Kansas City Chiefs come out, Andrew, and they blitz less than 20% of the time, which is a low. That's extremely low for Steve Spagnuolo. And they run cover 2, split safety coverage, 79% of the time, and you can't figure it out. That's a major problem. It's a major problem.
Absolutely. I mean, they're basically daring you to throw the ball over the middle of the field, and you just don't want to do it. Don't want to take that chance. There's not much else really to talk about. You're trying to force it into the areas they want you to throw it to, and it very clearly did not work yesterday.
And like, so not only can you not beat a defense that's running the same coverage against you for 79% of the time, you still can't score in the red zone. you still can't get the job done. Russell Wilson at this point is 4 of 18 on the season in the red zone. He's thrown 18 passes in the red zone. He's completed 4 of them. So you're not good in between the 20s. Russell Wilson can't complete passes in the red zone. He's completing about 26% of his passes. And once again, Andrew Connell, you're one of the worst red zone offenses in the league.
It's just, we know, regardless of whatever year it is in the Giants regime, their roster is just not good enough. They are not one of the top. No one would look at this team and say they're one of the top rosters in the NFL. You would say, at best, they're middle of the pack with some of the top-heavy stars that they have, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Malik Nabers, Andrew Thomas. But when you're playing especially against teams like Kansas City, who you know it has a better team than you, you cannot miss on these opportunities in the red zone. And we've seen it become a pattern over the last 3 years with the Giants. And look at that. 2022, they were one of the best red zone teams in the NFL, made the playoffs. I think that spells it out about as clearly as you possibly could.
If you leave points on the board in the red zone, you're leaving wins on the field. Unreal. And then you're not good on money downs.
Yeah, it's not. You're getting to those. They're not a good enough offense where you know they're going to just get a first down on first and second down. They're not going to create those chunk plays because they're playing a game plan where they're trying to throw the ball for 3 yards into the flat or run the ball multiple times in a row. So if you're going to do that, you need to have those long drives like we've talked about. You need to be almost perfect and convert third downs and convert fourth down when you go for it. And you see numbers like this, and it's very clear why they only scored 9 points.
9 points again. It comes back to, even if Jaxson Dart is able to be a good quarterback, I'm going to wonder how much better he could be under a different head coach.
Yeah, that's true. I think we saw some people in our comments during the watch party and throughout just say, how are we going to truly evaluate Jaxson Dart under this coaching regime? Because right now, before Jaxson Dart, they've shown they're pretty bad. So even if Dart looks good, how much better could he be? I think that's something that we need to look at. I think that's something that the Giants organization needs to look at, and I think it's a real problem. So moving on to my second takeaway, the Giants did not execute. I'm not sure exactly what their game plan was yesterday, obviously. Probably not good enough. But if you look at the 5 keys that I set out before the game, establish the run. Did they do that? Yes. All right. They were very intentional about running the football. Cam Scadaboo looked good. Tracy, before his injury, looked good. 1, check off. They did that. They executed that part of the game plan. Stop the run? Nope. Pacheco was running on wherever he wanted. The Chiefs were getting whatever they want. And they weren't a team we talked about before the game that had a strong run game. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL at running the ball. Feed Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers didn't get a catch or a target until the third quarter, I believe, middle of the third quarter. X did not do that one. Win the red zone. We just showed their stats in the red zone. They didn't score in the red zone. Enough, at least. And a clean game. This is less about the penalties last night. I think obviously they were better. It was hard to be worse than they were against Dallas. But you see Russ turn the ball over twice carelessly, make mistakes that just aren't good enough and what you would expect from a veteran quarterback. No. I would say 1 out of 5 on keys to the game and game plan. And we'd hope these are things they'd want to do even if they weren't explicitly in their game plan. So poor execution from the Giants.
And the last one for me is just it's time. It's time to go to Jaxson Dart. The writing's on the wall. The solutions are not in Russell Wilson. I'm not saying that playing Jaxson Dart turns the Giants into a Super Bowl contender. I'm not saying it turns you into a playoff team. I'm not saying it turns you into a 6-win team. But it starts the movement of forward. The forward movement of trying to find solutions. You have to find an answer about Brian Daboll. You have to find an answer about Jaxson Dart. And the longer you wait, the less data you give yourself, which gives you less of an opportunity to make a full, correct decision. It's more likely than not Giants are picking top 5 next year.
Yeah, it's very clear what the problem is. They shouldn't need any more time to identify what the problems are, that they're not a good enough football team, and the things they don't do well, the things they do well, which at this point is not many. So the next step is to try and fix those things. And at least at the quarterback position, the next step to try and fix something is to try someone new. And it's time for Jaxson Dart. And you talk about the offensive line, and you don't want to put him in behind this offensive line.
I thought the O-line was fine yesterday.
They looked pretty good. Russ had plenty of time to throw. That wasn't the issue. He wasn't about to get hit and throwing the ball downfield. He was just making poor decisions.
Andrew Thomas and Jermaine Illuminor had both 100% pass block win rates versus the Chiefs. Andrew Thomas only played 25 snaps. I assume that number will continue to go up. I think we might see a full game from him against the Chargers. Chargers don't have Khalil Mack. You got 2 good tackles. You got an all-pro receiver. You got a young running back that looks good. When you compare supporting cast for a rookie quarterback, this is pretty solid.
Certainly pretty good. You look at the teams that drafted quarterbacks this year. You look at Cam Ward, and I've seen highlight after highlight or tape of him just throwing the ball and then receivers just dropping wide open passes. We know the Giants have capable NFL receivers. We've seen them have success. And the offensive line, which I think could be better at some of those spots, but is certainly not one of the major issues on this team. You've got 2 great bookend tackles, as we see right here. You got a little bit of a running game that actually was probably the best thing about the Giants' offense yesterday. Dart should be able to have things around him. He doesn't have to do it all. He doesn't have to feel like he has to do it all. So
doesn't have to come put a Superman cape on.
Exactly.
Take care of the ball, make smart decisions, and just be better on third down than what the Giants have been and execute in the red zone.
If Russell Wilson manages the game last night, the Giants are in that game towards the end, potentially with the chance to win it. Probably should win it. And he did the opposite of that, not taking care of the ball and not being efficient with his passes.
All I'm asking is you don't get an intentional grounding and throw it away 2 other times in the red zone from the 4-yard line and 10-yard line and in. But that's veteran Russ.
Yeah, I'm kind of hitting on hopefully Dart getting in the lineup. Is the Giants team needs some juice and have Dart there, but it's all across the roster. We saw the fumble play with Okereke and Dane Belton, guys just not playing hard, not going after the ball, not playing till the whistle. We've seen Paulson and Daboll drop how many interceptions? They just need something. They need a spark, and I think this says it is if your team has Cam Scatterboo on it and still needs a spark, it says a lot about what your team is, because you watch that guy play football, it should fire you up. You watch him run people over and things like that. So the last thing that the Giants can do is put Dart in, and I think that can hopefully give them a little bit of a spark, and if not, I'm not sure what will.
0-3. Again, season over before October. I do think some players stood out. I thought there were some players that played well yesterday. I want to give some gold stars for week 3. Brian Burns, I'm happy he's a Giant. I'm proud that he's a Giant. He unloads the clip every Sunday. He gives it all he's got. He wears that C on his chest proudly. And I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Brian Burns. Thought Cam Scatterboo played his tail off. Just like Burns, he empties the tank. He gives it all he's got. That's all you can ask of a player. Andrew, I think Kayvon Thibodeau's had a hell of a year.
I think he's been arguably the most surprising player on this Giants roster. It's a guy who a lot of people wrote off, who would think, all right, the Giants don't even need him anymore. Now they've got Carter, they've got Burns, but he's looked good. And listen, I think that he should. There's no way that he's getting the opponent's toughest matchup on the offensive line. The opponent should be gearing up to stop guys like Brian Burns, like Dexter Lawrence, like Abdul Carter. So Kayvon Thibodeau's doing what you would expect of him, and he's been taking advantage of his matchups every week, and he's been one of the bright spots for the Giants.
I think Jermaine Illuminor has had a good year. He's in a contract year, trying to go and get a bag this offseason. Good problem to have. Shout out to Illuminor. And I was happy with the way Andrew Thomas looked in that first half. I thought he looked really good.
Yeah, we talked about those stats. Those guys gave Wilson time to throw, played well, and did their job against the Chiefs D-line that has some talent as well. That wasn't an easy matchup for either one of them. I think you look at Jones and Karlaftis, that's a pretty good tandem there on the edge.
So, not a win, some bright spots, but unfortunately, not enough. Not enough. You're 0-3, and it feels like the season is over before October again. Shout out to y'all. If you haven't yet, give me a follow on social media. Click that thumbs up icon for us.